of the African Union. We may take our seats, members of the press. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we've just concluded a high-level retreat of the Extended Bureau on African Union institutional reforms, and once again, I extend my deepest appreciation to my brothers, the heads of state and government, participating for their insightful contributions and excellent commitment to the African Union and to its transformation into a more fit-for-purpose instrument of African renaissance and global positioning. Our shared commitment to reforming the Union is key to unlocking Africa's full potential. A reformed African Union will serve as the bridge to prosperity for all the African people. To this end, we must speak with one voice, act with unity, and remain steadfast in our vision. This retreat has been a defining milestone in our collective journey towards consolidating African Union's institutional reforms, and I am profoundly grateful for the productive deliberations, meaningful exchanges, and critical reflections that have taken place. Together, we have taken stock of our progress, objectively assessed our achievements, and identified areas where we must redouble our efforts. I note that reforming the African Union is not a solitary task, but a complex, interlinked, and shared undertaking that demands our collective resolve. If we pull together in unity and purpose, we shall deliver an efficient, effective, and responsive African Union that is fit to serve the member states and the people of Africa effectively. Throughout our discussions, we have identified key priorities that will shape our focus in the coming months, and today's outcomes represent a crucial step in mobilizing political will, fostering consensus, and building the momentum needed to finalize the remaining aspects of the reform. While commendable progress has been made, much remains to be done. To achieve lasting and impactful change, the African Union Commission Chairperson and the Commission itself, including the Executive Council and the Permanent Representatives Committee, must pull in the same direction and accelerate their efforts to implement what has been agreed upon with speed, precision, and efficiency. I thank the heads of state and government for supporting the establishment of the Committee of African Heads of State and Government on Institutional Reform. What we agreed today in this retreat is about four critical aspects that to broaden the ownership of the reform process and to enhance the momentum and to provide strategic leadership for the implementation process, we have decided that apart from the champion that was appointed, we need a committee of 5 to drive the implementation of the already agreed reforms of the different agencies, institutions, and organs. Secondly, we also agreed that for a continent with as much potential as Africa, with a population of 1.4 billion people, with the highest resources of energy and natural resources, with the demographic dividend being the youngest continent, a continent that will probably have 25% of the world's workforce in the next 20 years or 25 years, and a continent that will be the largest single market by 2050. With the resources in food production and many other natural resources, it becomes absolutely necessary that stability, peace, and security become a solid cornerstone of the Africa we imagine into the future. And therefore, it is absolutely necessary at this point in time for Africa Union to reimagine, rethink, reorganize our peace and security architecture. As things stand today, Africa is a big theater of conflict and, unfortunately, terrorism. And our response has been uncoordinated, under-resourced, and not very well planned. Therefore, we have recommended that a high-level panel interrogate our peace and security infrastructure, including the envoys across the continent, the infrastructure around the Africa Union Commission, the Peace and Security Fund, and also the effects of Resolution 2917 that now makes it possible for African-led peace efforts to be funded by the United Nations with a resolution of the United Nations Security Council. Because without and unless we deal with the conflicts in our continent, the threats and ravaging effects of terrorism in our continent, it will become almost impossible to undertake any meaningful investment or development or economic activity in our continent. And therefore, matters of peace and security are existential to us as a continent. It is also important that this retreat discussed the subject of financing for the Africa Union. We did undertake that we will finance 100% of the operational budget, 75% of the program budget, and 25% of the peace and security budget. But that has not been attained. Again, we have provided a framework, and I will be recommending to the summit of the heads of state and government next month on our suggestions on how we can plug the gaps and provide adequate funding and a mechanism for adequately financing the Africa Union. The third issue that we have agreed on is the operationalization of the Africa Court of Justice. As we all know, this is what was envisaged in the Constitutive Act of the Africa Union, and to provide clarity and to exercise judicial authority of the Union. The African Court of Justice and the protocols necessary for its implementation were concluded in 2009, and 16 years later, we have not been able to operationalize. I will therefore be making a recommendation for the operationalization of the African Court of Justice with the appointment of judges so that by June this year, we can have a mechanism for conflict resolution in our continent, especially on disputes between countries, disputes between institutions of the Africa Union, and a reference for the tribunals that currently exist. Once again, it is a very important forum that we have engaged in that will go all the way to a presentation on the Pan-African Parliament to make it much more accountable, to agree on the election process of members of the Pan-African Parliament, to look at the responsibility of the Pan-African Parliament to enact model laws that will serve the greater interest of the continent and support institutions like the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. It will also provide a mechanism for accountability for us as a continent and as a union to hold the executive to account, to hold agencies to account, to provide for a budget-making process, and to provide approvals for purposes of accountability. A fit-for-purpose Africa Union is a necessary imperative at this point in time if the Africa Union has to play the role and speak for the 1.4 billion Africans. We also reflected extensively on the burden of regional conflicts and threats of terrorism on our continent, and it is without a doubt that conflict remains a major obstacle to Africa's development. It must be confronted, and with all the capabilities and urgency that this continent can muster. I welcome this retreat's focus on rebooting Africa's peace architecture by establishing a panel of experts to propose modalities for strengthening the continent's current conflicts response and financing mechanisms. Only when Africa can decisively address the conflicts within our soil, including the ongoing grave developments in Eastern DRC and the Sudan, can it stand proud of its liberation. It is for this reason that we have agreed under the framework of the East African Community to convene an urgent extraordinary meeting and summit on the situation in Eastern DRC on Wednesday. I have consulted with heads of state from the East African Community and beyond, and we are all in agreement that now more than ever, it is an existential issue, not just for the people of Eastern DRC, but for this region. The situation in Eastern DRC now demands our collective focus. And as the chair of the East African Community, I will be convening this meeting, as I have said. Once again, I underscore my appreciation and gratitude to the colleagues who attended this meeting, and it was in the spirit of unity, and it characterized all the discussions that we had. And I am very confident that going to Addis, we should be able to make the necessary decisions to move this process forward. Thank you very much. I will take maybe a question or two at most.
Please introduce yourself, the media house you represent, and keep your question as short as possible. Thank you.
Mr. President, my name is Emmanuel Tau from Citizen TV. Did you also discuss about Raila's candidature for AUC? And did the presidents who are here also support him? And how many countries so far are backing Raila Odinga's candidature? Thank you.
That's a subject for another engagement.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. My name is Ian Wafula. I'm the Africa Security Correspondent for the BBC. The first question is just a confirmation, and then the main question. First question, you said you're meeting on Wednesday for the East Africa Community emergency meeting on the DRC. Can you confirm that President Felix Tshisekedi and Paul Kagame have agreed to meet, and what are their sentiments at the moment? And then the UN, the US, Europe, and have of course put out reports saying that Rwandan forces have been at the forefront helping M23 in Goma. Does this complicate your way in finding a solution to the conflict?
Yes, I have discussed the summit meeting for Wednesday, both with President Paul Kagame and President Felix Tshisekedi, and both of them have confirmed their participation in the summit on Wednesday. As for the situation in DRC, it is already very complicated. So the presence of security people from wherever place doesn't add any more complication. It is already too complicated. This is a situation that has festered for 30, 40 years. We've had a UN peacekeeping mission there for the last 20 years. We've had forces from the East African community in and out. We've had forces from SADC in and maybe out. So there is a complicated situation there. It is my belief that this engagement is absolutely necessary because we do not see, from where I sit, a possibility of a military solution to the challenges that faced Eastern DRC. It was, it is, and I'm sure it will continue to be the case, that engagement, dialogue, consultations is the only viable way out of the situation in DRC. A direct engagement with M23 and all the other stakeholders in the theater in Eastern DRC is a necessity. And getting to understand the issues and possibly the root causes of why this conflict has persisted for many years is a place to start, but we will be willing to listen to all the actors in this space, and it is our hope that we will come out with a way forward that includes a facilitation and a mediation process that will bring the parties to this conflict on board and to see how to process the issues that inform this conflict in a manner that gets us to the solution. Thank you very much.